This video discusses a disturbing and violent crime. Viewer discretion is advised.
In early 2005, the town of Homosassa, Florida, was shocked by a horrible crime: the abduction and murder of a 9-year-old girl. Jessica Lundsford was a bright and cheerful young girl who was born on October 6, 1995. She was born and raised in the town of Gastonia, North Carolina, where she had spent most of her life. She was living with her single father, Mark Lundsford, who was also her best friend. Jessica Lundsford was also very smart. She would often come to work with her father at the wood waste recycling facility that he owned, and would even help run heavy equipment there. Jessica Lundsford was very close to her family, and also loved her grandparents too. She was a friendly girl who went to church and respected everyone. Every weekend, Mark Lunsford would always take Jessie out to eat and to sing karaoke. Jessica Lunsford was living a very full life. In year 2004, Jessica Lunsford's grandparents moved to Citrus County, Florida. Jessie and her father missed her grandparents and decided to move to Florida to be with them. Mark Lunsford thought Homosassa, Florida would be a safe, slow-paced area to raise his daughter. On Jessie's last Halloween, she was a cat with whiskers. On her last Christmas, she had gotten a watch as a present. Things were going very well in Jessie's life, but on one terrible night, things would go horribly wrong. On the morning of February 24th, 2005, Mark Lunsford woke up in his home and discovered that Jessica Lunsford was not in her bedroom and was nowhere to be found. He called 911 and reported her missing. At first, the police focused all of their attention on Mark and his father, Archie Lunsford. The police held both of them in police custody and interrogated them. Only one could imagine the agony that Mark Lunsford was experiencing. Jessica Lunsford was still missing. It was clear that someone had taken her. She needed to come home, and she needed to be found safely, and time was running out. Someone knew where she was. The police kept thinking that it was Mark or Archie Lunsford who knew where Jessie was, but they were wrong. Someone evil had been watching Jessica Lunsford. Shortly after the entire community became aware of Jessica Lunsford's disappearance, many tips were called into the police, alerting them of a possible suspect in her disappearance: a registered sex offender. His name was John Cooey. John Cooey was a dangerous criminal who had been living in the state of Florida. He had an extensive criminal record that included 24 arrests for burglary, carrying a concealed weapon without a permit, and indecent exposure and sexual assault. He actually had lived down the street from the Lundsford home and had first noticed Jessica Lundsford playing outside after she first moved in. From then on, he was watching her. Almost a month after Jessica Lunsford's abduction, the horrible truth of what had happened would be revealed. On February 24th, 2005, at 3 a.m., John Cooey entered the Lunsford home through an unlocked door. He found Jessica sleeping in her bedroom and told her not to make any noise, or else he'd harm her. He then tied her hands behind her back with speaker wire and kidnapped her and brought her to his trailer down the street. He held her captive for 3 days and had admitted to sexually assaulting her. John Cooey stated that shortly after he kidnapped Jessica, that the police had been to his house and searched his house, but failed to find Jessie locked in his closet. 3 days after he kidnapped her, he wrapped her in plastic bags and buried her alive near his trailer. She had died from suffocation. On March 17th, 2005, the police brought John Cooey in for questioning for the disappearance of Jessica Lunsford. He then had confessed to everything he had done and told the police where to find Jessica's body. On March 18th, 2005, Jessica Lunsford's body was found by police, buried near John Cooey's trailer. She had been buried alive, holding her stuffed dolphin that her father had won for her. John Cooey was then charged for the murder of Jessica Lunsford and would later be sentenced to death. In September of 2009, he had died in prison from cancer. In my opinion, what happened to Jessica Lunsford was absolutely horrible. This whole crime was completely disturbing. John Cooey was a monster. If he had been arrested that many times, why on earth was he allowed to be on the streets? I later learned from watching a documentary that the police actually had a warrant for John Cooey's arrest 2 weeks before Jessica was kidnapped. The police even went to his house that day, but did not arrest him. I was also disgusted by the fact that the police did go to John Cooey's house while Jessica was there and while she was still alive, yet they failed to find her in his closet. This is completely unacceptable. Police are supposed to be there to make sure things like this don't happen. Police are supposed to be there to keep people safe. Jessica Lunsford died because she was failed by a flawed system that did not protect her from monsters like John Cooey. Jessica had dreamed of becoming a fashion designer, a doctor, and an Olympic swimmer. But all because of what happened, she will never have the chance to accomplish that dream. In the years following her death, Mark Lunsford had become a strong advocate for the safety of children. He had traveled from state to state to pass Jessie's Law, a law designed to give more strict punishments on registered sex offenders who are a danger to the public. I sure hope that one day the world will be a safer place for children, and that monsters like John Cooey will never be allowed to lurk the streets again, and that innocent souls like Jessica Lunsford will not suffer such a horrible fate. Jessica Lunsford would have been the same age as me if she was still alive today. I stood over the grave of Jessica Lunsford. While I was there, I kept getting a horrible feeling. She shouldn't be there. She did not deserve to have her life stolen from her. She deserves to be alive. She deserved to live. I know she's at peace, but it's still not fair what happened. And it should not have happened. For a girl who was let down by a system that was meant to keep children like her safe, may Jessica Lunsford rest in peace, and may her soul drift away to a place where no evil exists. Rest in peace, Jessica Marie Lunsford.